A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, Kenya's top political figures have thrown their weight behind Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairmanship ahead of Saturday's election in Addis Ababa. President William Ruto, opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have united in support, marking a rare political consensus as Raila faces two key opponents in the high-stakes contest. Raila was equally in high spirits as he met Kenyans who traveled to Addis Ababa for solidarity.
Kenya's top political leaders have united in support of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairmanship. Raila is set to face key opponents in the Saturday's election in Addis Ababa, where at least 49 heads of state and government are attending the 38th Ordinary African Union Summit. Among those backing him are President William Ruto, opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, signaling a rare moment of political consensus. President Ruto, Raila's former political rival, has been leading a diplomatic campaign to rally African leaders behind his candidacy. Opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka also publicly endorsed Raila, praising his resilience and vision for the continent. He highlighted Raila's ability to forgive and engage with past adversaries, qualities he deemed essential for the AUC chairmanship.
As you are aware, the election of the chairperson of the African Union Commission is scheduled to take place on Saturday, 15th February 2025, at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Kenya has fronted a candidate in the person of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, AGH, former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya. From the onset, honorable members, I take this opportunity to wish the Right Honorable Raila Odinga success in the election. I've previously worked with the Honorable Raila Odinga both here in Parliament as well as in the Cabinet over the last 2 decades, and I'm convinced that in Raila Odinga, Africa will have a great and visionary leader as we gear up to the actualization of the African Union Agenda 2063.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula echoed similar sentiments, emphasizing Raila's dedication to Pan-Africanism, governance, and regional integration. Hilary Kabila, GBS News, Nairobi.
Kenya's former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has come out in full support of Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairmanship. Ahead of the high-stakes election in Addis Ababa, Gachagua endorsement, along with the rallying of Kenyan citizens outside the AUC headquarters, highlights the strong backing for Raila as he prepares to face off against two main contenders in the race.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua took to social media to express his full support for Raila Odinga, calling him the ideal candidate to lead the African Union Commission. His statement adds to the growing wave of Kenyan support for Raila, who is now in Addis Ababa for the crucial election. But at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, a group of enthusiastic Kenyans gathered, singing songs of praise and support for Raila. The crowd, which included Nairobi MCAs, voiced their belief in Raila's ability to steer the AUC forward, showing the strength of Kenya's backing for their candidate.
Fika Addis. Tumefika. History na making ndio tuko hapa. Asante Mungu.
Addis ya baba. Addis ya baba.
Ushindi kwa baba. Ushindi kwake baba.
Mimi ni mtu wa UDA, nasema baba atawale Afrika.
ODM, Kibra, tunaomba baba ashinde uchaguzi huu.
Ushindi kwa Raila Amolo Odinga, ushindi kwa Afrika.
The presence reflects the national significance of the election as heads of state from across the continent gather for the 38th Ordinary Summit. Raila Odinga, now in Addis Ababa, faces two strong opponents in the AUC chairmanship race: Mahamoud Ali Yusuf from Djibouti and Richard Radia Mandrato from Madagascar. At least 49 heads of states are in attendance, making the election a decisive moment for the future of the African Union. As the election draws near, the pressure builds, but Raila Odinga's strong support from Kenyan leaders and citizens signals his readiness for the challenge. All eyes are now on the AUC chairmanship election this Saturday in Addis Ababa. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Today, Kenyan President William Ruto has urged warring factions in Sudan to embrace dialogue, emphasizing that lasting peace cannot be achieved through military means. His remarks came during a high-level humanitarian conference for the people of Sudan in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Speaking at the summit Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, President Ruto condemned the ongoing violence that has killed thousands, displaced millions, and blocked much-needed humanitarian aid.
This crisis is worsened by the massive displacement of civilians, with an estimated 11 million people forced to flee their homes. The collapse of healthcare systems, the spread of preventable diseases, and the deterioration of medical infrastructure have further deepened humanitarian emergency. The crisis' regional impact is equally severe as neighboring countries are struggling with overstretched social services due to the growing refugee crisis. This situation demands urgent regional and global intervention.
He called the situation unacceptable and reaffirmed Kenya's commitment alongside the Intergovernmental Authority on Development to supporting a negotiated settlement. In a strong show of solidarity, President Ruto pledged $2 million in aid to help alleviate the suffering of Sudanese civilians.
At the Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Sudan held in Paris in April 2024, support humanitarian efforts in Sudan. I am pleased to reaffirm that Kenya will fulfill this pledge with an additional $1 million to demonstrate our support.
As Sudan continues to grapple with conflict, the international community faces mounting pressure to facilitate a ceasefire and ensure the safe delivery of humanitarian assistance. Kenya and IGAD have reiterated their readiness to mediate peace efforts and bring an end to the crisis.
Support the Sudanese people.
Paris Kigo, GBS News.
As usual, our weekly satirical edition of Boomerang is here as well packed for you. Right away from Siaya County to Parliament, our reporter Victor Odun reports.
Boomerang begins in a boom, boom way. And with a bang. Continue, Governor Orengo.
I'm asking my party audience, don't lose this thing that the High Court of Kenya has said that Azimio is the majority party. Don't leave it, because instead of sitting on the table with whoever is in power, the court is giving you what belongs to you. Why are we giving up? Why is Kenya giving up when history and everything is behind you? What the court said, the High Court said yesterday, is a confirmation that the election results that were announced in the last elections were not correct. That is the confirmation. Because Raila's party and coalition could not have got the majority of seats, the majority of governors, the majority of senators, and lose the presidential election.
The other matters.
Please, Mr. Speaker, matters or other matters?
The other matters.
Murume, kindly say other matters, not other matters.
So it's like we're in concurrence.
Oops, we are in concurrence.
So it's like we're in concurrence. We're in concurrence with the names, the majority and the minority. Now let me give the deputy minority leader. Okay, let me give the deputy minority whip. Okay. As far as my hemispheres are correct, the deputy minority leader is none other than, you know, even he is looking at me very. Senator Kwambua.
That name that you read was the former deputy minority leader. Now, the person speaking is the deputy majority leader. The label is here.
And the drama continues to unfold in the floor of the House. Don't touch that dial until the end.
I'm seeking for your protection. Mr. Speaker, I have been thrown out of my position where I normally sit. Mr. Speaker, you can see my kid sister, much as she likes me very much. She's seated on my seat. I don't know where I'm supposed to sit. I am the chief whip of the government. My seat is supposed to be there. What are you doing? Can you please protect me? I want my seat back.
I can table the decision before the House, Mr. Speaker. No, it's online. I just need to send it. I have it. I have the decision here. Senator Mugeni, absolutely touching on the Senate, nothing. You are senior legal counsel, and I don't know where this ruling came from. Yeah? so, Senator Boni Karwale, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you. Allow me to thank you for that guidance. This House has gained a lot of respect in the country. And therefore, the guidance you're giving, Mr. Speaker, I invite you to be even bolder and ask our colleagues who have migrated to the majority side to go back and take their seats. Because the proper position, Mr. Speaker,
Senator Boni Karwale, if you go even to the standing orders, if you consult the standing orders, senators have free sitting. You can sit here anywhere. There's free sitting.
We cannot be in a country run by social media, Mr. Speaker. I am very serious. If the courts, let me confirm, if the courts had ruled that the majority in the Senate has become the minority, I would have been the first to move to respect the courts. But because there is no such a matter, let us clear the confusion. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion that the composition be as stated. Thank you very much.
I'm digital, Mr. Speaker. I can table the decision.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to add that in the event that no one is interested in taking up this position of the minority with Mr. Speaker, I am able and I am willing and I am already sitting here on this chair, Mr. Speaker, so I can assist them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Because it would be very absurd, Honorable Speaker, as SG of ODM, for my party to be the majority down there and I'm in a minority here. Honorable Speaker, sometimes when you get communications from these coalitions, for instance, our membership of the PSC, there is only one person who writes those letters to you, and that is the Secretary General of Azimio. Honorable Speaker, would he write there in the National Assembly, he writes as the leader of a majority party, and here he writes as the leader of a minority party. These are some of the absurdities that I think would arise if we would not follow the designation. And by the way, Honorable Speaker, I want to be very clear that we, majority coalition, are going to ensure we enforce that court order because we are believers in the rule of law. Once a court has pronounced itself, Senator Kalwale, you look for another seat. You don't insist on the one that you'll be told is not your seat. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, you cannot tell us, a member of the Senate cannot stand here and say, oh, the courts are out there and we are here. We exist in a constitutional order institution. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, we will not allow people to conflate issues. If Azimio is a majority party in the National Assembly, it follows that we are the majority in this House.
Senator Mgatana, just a minute, Senator Mgatana. Senator Mgatana, just a minute.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in the last parliaments, you were analog.
You know, in the 8th, 9th parliament, you used to stand and wave to get to catch the speaker's eye.
And today, as digital parliamentarians,
now we went digital. You can just press intervention and I'll see.
You are digital.
But what is your point of honor?
Surely, Mr. Speaker, can it be true that
what is pronounced as the leadership arrangement in the National Assembly should automatically hold for the Senate. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be true. Mr. Speaker, in fact, it is the absurdity of nature, at the highest absurdity, that we can go into an election, a political party wins the Senate majority, and another one wins the National Assembly majority, and by dint of the National Assembly majority, then the leadership is determined in the Senate. This is what my learned friend, Mr. Sifuna, is saying. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be correct. Mr. Speaker, I wish to be heard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can I be protected?
If Senator Mungatana has another copy of the Constitution, maybe in his native Pokomo language, he can show us where it speaks about designation of a majority party in the Senate.
And finally, the referee came with the declaration.
In summary, therefore, honorable members, I guide as follows. The Kenya Kwanza Coalition is the majority party in the House. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party is the minority party in the House.
Victor Dun Boomerang, GBS News.
Great report by Victor. Now it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
So through the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 속에 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through. He carried our sins,
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins,
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb,
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 and 25 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap years. When you multiply all those numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
AS and A levels is a qualification program that is advanced. That is after one has completed the high GCSE program, then they advise to continue for AS and A level. AS typically is a 1-year program, and A levels is done in the 2nd year after completing the AS level. And this one equips the student with the knowledge that is recommended for the university and also by employers outside the countries or within the country.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. Will one day of goodwill quench the thirst of justice, or rather is a bouquet of flowers the answer to mend the strained relationship between law enforcement and the public? Well, we will never know until it's tried out. That's why the men in uniform today surprised Nairobians after they took to the streets, handing out flowers in a rare display of warmth and goodwill, contradicting their now look of fear and skepticism. Susan Nganga reports.
February 14th equals a day to spread love and receive love in return. Well, the meaning of the day was not lost on the men in uniform. Nairobians always wake up to certainty, or rather uncertainty, but nothing could have prepared them for the unexpected surprise of receiving flowers from the police. Led by Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat from the Kenyan Police Service and Gilbert Masengeli from the Administration Police Service, the initiative aims to foster goodwill by distributing flowers and gifts to various community members.
Join other Kenyans in celebrating this day by sharing flowers, just to express the love and care the National Police Service have for our people. We are delighted that today, this morning, here in Nairobi, we were able to interact with the members of the public, just to make sure that they also see us on the other, the other end, the other way of life that we also have a feeling for them.
And to say, unlike those old days when you could see a police officer, people run away. You ask your colleague, why are you running? Then they say, police. You join the running. But at the end of the day, that was police brutality. Today, they are our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our husbands, our wives, our daughters. So ours is just to extend to the members of the public that we pray for you guys. Always remember and care for your neighbor as you could care for yourself, and we live in harmony.
But while the police sought to soften their image, the streets of Nairobi had a response of their own. A woman was captured today in the Central Business District, handing flowers to the police, only to fall to her knees, pleading for an end to abductions and police brutality against young Kenyans who are critics of President William Ruto's regime.
Polisi wetu, hata nyinyi ni watoto wetu, hata nyinyi ni mababa za watoto wale wanapotea, hata nyinyi ni mandugu zetu. Tunaomba kwa heshima, tuache mambo ya kuua watoto, ya kuwapiga, ya kuwakandamiza. Hii Kenya inatuhitaji sisi wote ndugu zetu. We beg, we have come in peace, 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 we have come in peace. Please receive these flowers as a sign of peace.
This year's Valentine, beside the show by the police, held a stark contrast with last year. In 2024, hundreds of women dressed in black, carrying lit candles and red roses, held a vigil in honor of more than 30 women murdered in Kenya at that time of the year.
Condone femicide at all. We are losing so many women, so many girls. So today, most of us have set out our plans so that we come here with fellow women, our fellow ladies, fellow feminist leaders to ensure that we end femicide. We hold the government accountable because we need the reduction of femicide cases because they are our sisters, they are our mothers, they are our wives.
I'm joining in this dark Valentine's because there's nothing to be happy about when our fellow women and girls are being murdered in cold blood and nothing is being done about it. So on this day, I prefer rather to protest against the injustices that are occurring and raise my voice, join my fellow women, because today is them, tomorrow could be me. It's affecting our mothers, our sisters, our friends, and we need to speak up about it. And love is not something that should put you at risk for death. So if we can't have a healthy kind of love, what's there to celebrate about?
Will this action today by the police warrant forgiveness for the countless brutality and the ongoing abduction spree allegedly orchestrated by them? And can a bouquet of flowers really be the answer? Susan Nganga, GBS News.
3 staff members from Bagathi Hospital in Nairobi have been charged in connection with the unauthorized release of a body from the hospital's mortuary. The accused, including morgue attendants and a member of the Health Records Department, face several charges including conspiracy, demanding money with menaces, and providing false information. The incident has raised serious concerns about the handling of bodies at the hospital.
3 staff members from Bagathi Hospital in Nairobi have been charged in connection with the unauthorized release of a body from the hospital's mortuary. Morgue attendants Elizabeth Aoga and Jacqueline Njagi alongside Jacqueline Owino from the Health Records Department face multiple charges including conspiracy to commit a felony, giving false information and demanding money with menaces.
Giving false information to a person employed in the public service, under section 129A of the Penal Code.
According to the prosecution, the 3 accused individuals are alleged to have demanded 30,000 Kenya shillings from Anne Mbugwa, the daughter of James Mbugwa, on December 5th.
Count number 3, demanding money with menace, under section 302 of the Penal Code.
The money was requested in exchange for the assistance in waiving an outstanding hospital bill of 61,000. Following this arraignment, the 3 reportedly released the body of James Mbugwa from the mortuary, bypassing proper procedures after allegedly obtaining a burial permit and false pretenses. During the investigation, another body labeled James Mbugwa was discovered in the mortuary, casting serious doubts on the identity of the body that had been released earlier. This discovery has further raised concerns about the circumstances surrounding the release and integrity of the mortuary's operation. The 3 suspects appeared before Magistrate Ben Mark Ekubi on Friday, where they pleaded not guilty to all the charges brought against them. They were granted bail, each set at 100,000 Kenya shillings, with the case being scheduled for mention on February 26th. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Kenya is on a high disease alert as the Ministry of Health ramps up efforts to prevent the spread of deadly diseases, with 3 new Mpox cases reported and regional outbreaks of Ebola and Marburg. Authorities are tightening health screenings at all entry points.
Kenya is stepping up its fight against deadly diseases. The Ministry of Health has confirmed 3 new cases of Mpox, bringing the total to 41. With the threat of Marburg and Ebola spreading in neighboring countries, health officials are leaving nothing to chance. Public Health Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni, speaking at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, announced enhanced procedure to all border points, accompanied by WHO and IOM representative. She said screening tools and swift response measures are now in place to manage any suspected cases.
As you may very well know, we have been grappling with an ongoing Mpox outbreak, which has so far resulted into 41 confirmed cases across 12 counties. That is Nakuru, Mombasa, Busia, Nairobi, Kajiado, Bungoma, Taita Taveta, Kericho, Makueni, Kilifi, Kiambu, and Uasin Gishu. 3 million people have travelers have been screened at the ports of entry, with 419 samples from suspected cases that are undergoing testing.
So far, 3 million travelers have been screened, with 419 suspected cases sent for further analysis. Kenya's health sector, with the support of WHO, has trained medical officers to handle these challenges. The International Organization for Migration has also been critical in coordinating travelers' protocols.
This is a perfect opportunity to reiterate WHO's commitment to support Kenya in terms of strengthening its emergency preparedness and response capabilities. WHO has been supporting the Ministry of Health in training border health management officers in developing and updating emergency preparedness and response plans.
Kenya's vigilance dates back to the COVID-19 era when it developed robust screening and surveillance system. Authorities are now building on this foundation to protect the country from new health threats. With deadly diseases at the doorstep, Kenya remains committed to keeping its borders secure and its people safe. Joy Kura, GBS News.
Residents of North Game Ward in Siaya County received 43 dairy cows from the county government as part of a strategy to improve livelihoods. The cows were distributed through self-help groups in an event held at Malanga Sub-Location Assistant Chief Office in Game Yala Sub-County, with officials emphasizing the economic benefits of dairy farming. Speaking at the event, North Game MCA Philip Obonyo Oluoch said the cows were bought using 7 million shillings from the ward's development budget. He noted that each group member would earn about 3,000 shillings monthly from the milk sales. Now, Siaya County Assistant Director of Veterinary Services, Dr. Mark Otieno, assured residents that the animals will be vaccinated against foot and mouth disease to ensure their health and productivity. Now, local administrators, including Assistant Chief Millicent Aumotieno and Nicholas Muduo, welcomed the initiative, saying it will boost household incomes. Beneficiaries, including Michael Otieno Odoli and Janek Orek, expressed their readiness to apply the training they received before the livestock distribution to maximize dairy production and improve their livelihoods.
The dairy animals, we gave it to 30 groups. 48 groups, and the 48 groups, they are 30 people per group, meaning each and every person will be getting at least a liter. That means every month my people are able to get the pesa ya wazee, that is like 3,000 per month. That one will help them and also improve on their living standards. This is a word-based budget because I wanted a way of making sure that my people are empowered economically. So I took part of the word allocation, that is from 24 million, 7 million to do this project. And I'm planning to do at least 1,000 animals by the end of this year.
So basically what we are doing to the 43 animals I delivered today, one has already calved down, but the rest, the 43, we are vaccinating against foot and mouth disease. As you know, foot and mouth disease is an endemic disease in this locality. So we have to make sure that these exotic animals are protected against the disease.
With the county government has decided to empower women and youths in North Game by giving them dairy cow so that to sustain their livelihood. We are very happy because this exercise will go a long way also in terms of promoting cohesion and peace, because they are giving it to groups, so it means you have to work together with one another. We appreciate the work that the area MCA has done in terms of coming to monitor his people receive the livestock, and as administrator we are going to do a follow-up in terms of monitoring and supporting the team that has gotten the cows in monitoring the diseases and making sure that they survive.
Schools in Betty's South Embu have received a much-needed boost after gaming company Pakakumi donated food supplies to support their feeding programs. The donation included maize, rice, beans, and cooking oil, which came as a relief after the crops failed due to poor rains. Now, leaders and teachers say the food will help the students in school and improve learning.
Betty South Mbere South Constituency Embu have received a food donation from gaming company Pakakumi to support their feeding programs. The donation included maize, rice, beans, and cooking oil. This comes as a relief after crops failed due to poor rains. Pakakumi's head of corporate affairs, Sam Frinchiru, emphasized that the company aims to support the government's goal of universal education. He showcased that through the education support program, school in marginalized areas provide meals, increasing student enrollment and
Tuna support shule zetu za umma, public primary schools through feeding program ili waweze kupata lunch, na tumeweza kusupport shule 12. Objective yetu is to ensure learners are in school, they are able to get lunch, and when they are in school, their retention rate iko high.
Riango Primary School Deputy Head Teacher Edith Njagi highlighted that the donation was a big help since the school feeding program funded by parents was struggling after the crop failure. Njagi emphasized that students learning without proper meals will make them suffer and urged other well-wishers to assist.
Tuko eneo ya Mbeere South ambapo kumekuwa na kiangazi. Mashamba yetu hayajaweza kutoa nafaka ya kutosha kwa watoto. Leo tunashukuru sana kupitia kikundi cha Paka 10 ambacho kimeongozwa na Amfre. Twashukuru sana kwa msaada. Kwa kawaida msaada wa kikundi kimoja huwezi tosha kwa sababu muhula wetu ni mrefu, tuko na muhula wa wiki 13. Kwa hivyo ombi letu kama walimu wakuu na wanaosimamia mradi wa chakula ni kuomba serikali iweke mikakati ili tuweze kupata chakula.
Area Chief Roland Njue praised the program and called for more partners to join efforts in supporting children's education.
So hiyo ni kusema kwamba pia kama tunaweza pata washikadau wengine ambao waweza kuingia ndani na watufadhili na chakula kwa mpango wa school feeding program, kwetu pia tutashukuru kwa hiyo.
This was prompted due to shortage of food in schools, which has led students in struggling to concentrate on their studies, with some even dropping out due to their parents' inability to afford meals and school fees. However, the efforts of gaming companies have significantly helped alleviate this issue. Vivian Scalabo, GBS News.
8 individuals have been arrested and nearly 500 kilograms of bang recovered in a major security operation carried out earlier today in Elementaita, Nakuru County. The operation, which was based on a tip-off from local residents, included a raid on a homestead where police uncovered 21 sacks of the illicit substance. The suspects are now in police custody and will be arraigned in court as investigations continue. This operation is part of the ongoing efforts by law enforcement to combat drug trafficking across Kenya.
In a major breakthrough in the fight against narcotics trafficking, 8 individuals have been arrested and a staggering 497 kilograms of bang seized following a coordinated security operation in Elementaita, Nakuru County. The raid, which took place earlier today, was initiated after law enforcement officers received a tip-off from local residents. Acting on the information, police launched a thorough search at the homestead in the area, recovering 21 sacks filled with the illicit substance. According to a statement from the National Police Service, the 8 individuals arrested during the operation are currently in police custody and will soon face charges in court as investigations continues. This operation is part of a broader ongoing crackdown by law enforcement agencies aimed at curbing the increasing problem of drug trafficking across the country. Just 2 days earlier, a similar operation in Kombani Kwale County led to the arrest of 2 individuals who were found in possession of 12 sacks of marijuana. Both suspects, identified as Kasim Omar and Isa Omar, were arrested by Coast Region Anti-Narcotics detectives and are in custody awaiting arraignment. Authorities are urging the public to continue cooperating with the law enforcement agencies in their efforts to tackle narcotic trafficking and other related criminal activities. Trizatiengo, GBS News.
We are taking a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 244. We'll be right back.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua. Akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule, has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happens to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings, and investment. So those are the three. I will not add the fourth one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
this is the Youth Hub show that gets a groove on. We have so many topics lined up for you guys.
Can you survive without internet?
No, I can't. Siwezi survive bila internet mimi.
Hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushinda na nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde.
Sister like Tito who believes in miracles.
Don't you believe in miracles?
Don't you believe in miracles?
If you're in love, akili inafungika na macho. You won't see anything negative in the relationship.
So my films, I can get funding to get a lot of time to do pre-production, so that when I'm shooting, costume ulishapanga, kila watu wako wanajua wanavaje, shooting location, like that process ya kwenda ku secure location, kwenda ku video, secure location, you get and like wow, hii location nikeza pata.
This is where it will all happen.
It makes you happy.
Kuwa na vitu mingi sana, mapanga le nini. Tukisasa hizo issues zimekuwa zinachocha sana. Tunataka kutuka hivyo tu bila hii mambo ya mneti.
Are you ready? So guess the logo. Reveal.
Cadillac.
Cadillac. Unasema Cadillac.
Tunapenda watu yeye. We love communicating, we love welcoming people.
Internet ilikuja kutotoa pangiza.
The gift of a man will place you in a company of great men. Inaweza kufungulia mlango. What two things can you never eat for breakfast?
The fact that I started selling art, that's where the interest came in. Yeah, they know, yeah, this thing can pay.
And who has been your biggest cheerleader in your art journey?
My biggest?
Cheerleader. Ule mwenye anakuwa.
Oh yeah, I'm artist Victor Mtua. Facebook is Victor Mtua. Of course, the first time I sold my art at relatively 50K.
Ati?
Time niliuza art yangu like 50K.
Oh, Victor, kwanza before hata uoneshane watu paintings zako, nataka kuuliza, if I was to pay you, nikwambie like usiwahi chora tena, usiwahi paint tena, would you? Unaweza acha? You are famous, what will your stage name be?
My stage name?
Ungekuwa pale kwa stage, ungekuwa unajiintroduce kana nani?
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back now to international news. The remains of 14 South African soldiers who tragically lost their lives while serving in the Democratic Republic of Congo have arrived at Swatop Air Force Base in Centurion. President Cyril Ramaphosa paid tribute to the soldiers, honoring their bravery and sacrifice during a military ceremony as their remains were handed over to their grieving families.
The remains of 14 South African soldiers who tragically lost their lives while serving in the Democratic Republic of Congo have arrived at the Swatop Air Force Base in Centurion. President Cyril Ramaphosa paid tribute to the soldiers, honoring their bravery and sacrifice during a military ceremony as their remains were handed over to the grieving families.
The Ministry of Defense and the leadership of the South African National Defense Force for making every effort to repatriate the remains of our fallen troops to their families. Earlier, I had an occasion to meet with the families of our fallen soldiers. It was a moment of great sadness as we passed our condolences directly to the families.
The soldiers' coffin, covered with a South African flag, were carried with respect by the Air Force. Their remains were then given to their families in a special ceremony. The president also spoke about the importance of their mission in the DRC. He said their work was not just about keeping order, it was about building peace and creating a better future for our continent.
You have come to your resting place. We are here to receive you with open arms and to lay you to rest. And to the families gathered here, we thank you for your sacrifice, for you have made the ultimate sacrifice as well, by letting this country have your sons so that they can serve the cause of peace on our continent.
The 14 South African soldiers are remembered as heroes who gave their lives in the pursuit of peace. The sacrifice reflects South Africa's continued dedication to supporting peace across Africa and the world. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Morocco's cattle and sheep herds have shrunk by 38% over the past 9 years due to the persistent droughts. Agriculture Minister Ahmed says with dwindling rainfall and depleted water reserves, the crisis has led to higher meat imports and government tax exemptions to stabilize prices.
Morocco's cattle and sheep herds have decreased by 38% compared with the last census 9 years ago. Agriculture Minister Ahmed said on Thursday, 6 years of prolonged drought have emptied Moroccan dams, caused mass job losses in farming, and pushed the country to speed up its desalination plans.
The number of sheep herds in Morocco declined as a result of 6 consecutive years of drought, and this led to the disappearance of pastures that were the primary resources for livestock breeders to graze, which made them resort first to buying fodder, and many of them died.
Rainfall was 53 lower this year compared with the average of the last 30 years. There was little pasture for livestock to feed on, and consequently a drop in meat production, leading to higher imports of cattle and red meat.
Due to drought, we are sometimes forced to sell sheep in order to get money to buy fodder for the other remaining sheep. This has caused prices to rise in the market because we sell a number of sheep in order to preserve capital only.
In its 2025 budget, Morocco suspended import duty and value-added tax on cattle, sheep and camels, as well as red meat to keep prices stable in the domestic market. The planted area with the country's main staple of the soft wheat and durum was 2.6 million hectares, up from 2.6 million hectares last year. Last year, drought slashed Morocco's output of soft wheat, durum and barley to 3.1 million tons, down to 43% of year earlier. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the White House to discuss key trade issues with the U.S. President Donald Trump. Both leaders agreed to initiate an early trade deal and handle trade tariffs. Furthermore, Modi promised Trump that India will purchase more U.S. products such as military equipment, oil and gas. Here's more on the scene.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with US President Donald Trump to discuss key unresolved issues such as illegal immigration and high tariff rates. Trump has accused India of issuing high tariffs to US imports and calling them unfriendly to US businesses. This week, Trump has stated that he will issue reciprocal tariff to countries issuing higher tariffs to US imports. Earlier this week, Trump issued a 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, which have affected India. Modi and Trump seem to have reached an agreement where India will reduce their tariff rate. The White House praised Modi's effort of reducing tariff rates, making it easier for U.S. farm-related products to have easier access in India.
Prime Minister Modi and I have agreed that we'll begin negotiations to address the long-running disparities in the U.S.-India trading relationship.
India plans to make U.S. their dominant supplier of military equipment such as F-35 fighter jets, oil and gas.
We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighter.
Both leaders expressed interest in cooperation on nuclear energy, even though they are facing legal challenges due to this matter.
Friends, today we have also set ourselves the target of more than doubling bilateral trade to attain $500 billion by 2030. We will focus on trade in oil and gas.
They also talked about strengthening their cooperation in the Indo-Pacific influence in the region. Modi also met with top US officials, including head of the Department of Government Efficiency and CEO of Tesla and X, Elon Musk, head of intelligence agency Tulsi Gabbard, and Vivek Ramaswamy. India is the world's largest democratic state and the most powerful country in Southern Asia, and a huge competitor with China. With the formation of an alliance between the two nuclear nations in terms of trade and security, it will bolster India's legitimacy in the global stage. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Groundbreaking move. Panama has begun receiving deportees from the United States as part of a new agreement. The first flight carrying 119 migrants from various countries arrived this week, marking the start of a unique partnership between the two nations.
This week, Panama opened its door to migrants deported from the United States under a new deal, where President Jose Raul Molino confirmed the arrival of the first flight. On board, there were 119 people from countries like China, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. This is the first of the 3 planned flights expected to carry a total of 360 migrants. Once in Panama, the migrants will stay in shelter in the remote Darien region before being sent back to their home countries. Deputy Foreign Minister Carlos Ruiz Hernandez explained that these individuals were detained while crossing the U.S. border but had no criminal records. Last week, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with President Molino in Panama. While discussions about the Panama Canal took center stage, the two leaders agreed to use Panama as a transit hub for speeding up deportations. Panama has also worked hard to curb immigration through the dangerous Darien Gap, with crossing dropping by 90% compared to last year. The U.S. is funding this deportation through UN agencies, ensuring Panama's cooperation in this bold new step. President Molino assured this isn't a massive operation, but part of Panama's commitment to international cooperation. With the U.S. seeking similar deals across Central America, this could mark a new chapter in managing migration in the region. Joy Kuria, GBS News.
U.S. President Donald Trump and U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth were condemned by European Union and Ukrainian officials for making concessions with Russia in regards to the future of Ukraine. Both Trump and Hegseth have stated that in order for the peace deal to materialize, Ukraine must give up their right to reclaim territories under Russian occupation. Top officials from Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. will meet today in Munich to discuss more on the peace deal. Abdi Ahmed reports.
Yesterday, U.S. President Donald Trump and U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth received global backlash for making concessions on behalf of Ukraine. Trump and Hegseth have stated that in order for the peace deal to be successful, Ukraine have to give up their goals of joining NATO and their right to reclaim territories under Russian occupation. The EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas had this to say.
Any quick fix is a dirty deal. It is clear that any deal behind our backs will not work. Any agreement will need also Ukraine and Europe being part of it, and this is clear that appeasement also always fails.
Both the EU and Ukraine criticized the Trump administration for not involving them in the negotiations. Pete Hegseth met with NATO leaders and defended the negotiation strategy of concessions.
But simply pointing out realism, like the borders won't be rolled back to what everybody would like them to be in 2014, is not a concession to Vladimir Putin.
Hegseth also stated the goal of the peace deal.
Brief allies on President Trump's top priority: a diplomatic, peaceful end to this war as quickly as possible, in a manner that creates enduring and durable peace.
Russian and U.S. officials have stated that Ukraine will be involved in the negotiation process to end the war. The European Union have stated that they must be involved in the negotiation and that the peace deal should favor Ukraine.
Whether we decide to fall under the illusion that Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin are going to find a solution for all of us, and that would be a deadly trap. Or we will, as Europe, embrace our own economic, financial, and military capacity, and we will be the ones who will be deciding what will happen in Europe and in Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had this to say.
Today, the main thing is that everything does not go according to Putin's plan. He wants to do everything so that he has bilateral talks with the United States of America. We cannot accept, as an independent country, any agreement made without us.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Munich to speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. J.D. Vance stated that if Russia refused to accept a good peace deal that will guarantee Ukraine's long-term independence, that there will be severe consequences. Vance warned Russia of possible sanctions and military intervention if they won't guarantee Ukraine's long-term independence. Trump's deputy envoy to Ukraine has said NATO membership for Ukraine is not off the table. It seems the Trump administration is contradicting itself with how to handle the crisis in Ukraine. Pete Hegseth said otherwise yesterday.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5.
Trump echoed Hegseth.
This has been going on for many, many years. They've been saying that for a long time, that Ukraine cannot go into NATO. And I'm okay with that. I just want the war, whether they are or they're not. But it certainly would seem to be that most people have said that that is something that's not going to happen.
Hegseth has also told Europe to spend its budget to strengthen their defenses, as US may not defend Europe when they are at war. This resonates well with Trump's America's First policy.
And we say this in solidarity, is you have to spend more on your defense, for your country, on that continent, understanding that the American military and the American people stand beside you as we have in NATO, but can't have the expectation of being the permanent guarantor.
Today, Russia hit the Chernobyl nuclear power plant with a missile. The missile attack has damaged the containment areas. Authorities have said that the plant's radiation level are normal. The war, which has lasted for almost 3 years, has reached a point of stagnation, with both sides counting losses. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance, and both Europe and Ukraine lack the utmost trust in the Trump administration due to being sidelined. The question remains, will the two warring nations settle their difference and establish peace? Only time will tell. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
And that's all we had for you tonight at GBS News at 9. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again next time, same channel. My name is Stephen George. Have yourself a wonderful Valentine night.
Everywhere, GBS.